What's good, YouTube? Reacting to another MJV Animations video. This one say 3 true alone at night horror stories animated.
This was last year in the middle of January. I live in a relatively small home in a small woodsy town. It was about 45 minutes outside of the city. I only had a half day of work, so this night I was free to chill at home. Around 7, I got an unexpected call from a friend. He said he was having car troubles and asked if I could do him a solid and give him a ride home. Maybe grab some food too. I didn't mind at all and said I'd be right over. This wasn't the first time this had happened, so we'd been through this before. I grabbed my jacket from the front closet and got my keys, then opened the front door to leave. As soon as I opened the door, my whole body jumped. There was a man standing right in front of me on the porch, like literally.
I'm drop kicking him. I'm drop kicking the fuck out of him. Right there. I'm yelling, don't step another foot. And I'm drop kicking. Yeah. I'm drop kicking his ass. This foot soldier.
A foot away from the door. He had a heavy coat with a black gator neck scarf covering his lower face. The man didn't move at all though, like he wasn't equally as startled as me. For a second, I was just embarrassed for getting spooked like that, but then I immediately got curious why he was here. Before I could ask, he apologized and said he was just about to knock. I said it was alright and asked what he needed. The man took a second, then asked if I was David, or Daryl, I don't know, something like that. Whoever it was, wasn't me. I said no, and the man just said okay, and started walking off the porch. I stepped outside and shut and locked the door behind me, making sure the man walked all the way down my driveway and away from my home before I got in my car. I pretty much thought about that weird encounter the whole drive to my friend's work. My home was in a secluded neighborhood. Like, you don't get random people just going up to people's houses very often because they were so deep in the woods with long driveways. If he was just someone looking for someone else, I guess that did explain it though. I picked up my friend and we grabbed a quick meal at Culver's, then I drove him to his place and dropped him off.
Fuck Culver's.
It was around 9 p.m. by this point. It was snowing just a little bit, but otherwise it was pretty calm outside. When I got home, I pulled into the driveway and walked up to the front door, unlocking it and getting inside. I took a moment to warm up, then hopped on the couch and turned the TV on. I didn't keep track of time after this, because I didn't have to work tomorrow, so there was no need to. If I had to guess, I was probably on the couch for 2 hours before I got tired. I got up and stretched, turning the TV off and starting to walk over to the stairs. But when I passed by the front door, I suddenly remembered that guy that was outside earlier. I'd pretty much forgotten about it up until now. Now that I was thinking about it though, I walked up to the door and looked out the peephole just to ease my mind. Nobody was on the porch, and the night still looked calm, still snowing and not very windy. However, after a second, I noticed something going across the driveway. It wasn't clear, so I had to open the door to get a better look.
What the fuck? Somebody gotta explain this to me. Like, what make you think, if you already scared or in danger, you need a better look that bad to see if you really in danger? Like, you already scared, you already feel like you're in danger, you need a better look so you go open your door.
There were shoe prints in the thin layer of snow. They seemed to come all the way up the driveway from the road and near my car, Then they walked off into the yard where the trees blocked my view. Immediately, I felt very unnerved. I shut and locked the door. If this was the same guy as last time, coming back again, then something was seriously wrong. I kept looking back out the windows as I tried to think of what to do next. Thinking back on how strange my interaction with the guy was earlier only made it worse. In the moment, I was concerned enough to call the police. I dialed 911 and stayed by the window as I explained my situation. As I was talking, though, I kept hearing something subtle. Every time I'd pause and listen, I wouldn't hear it anymore. The operator probably thought I was crazy. But about a minute into the call, there was a violent thud against the back of the house. I almost dropped my phone from how much it made me jump. I hurried over to the hallway, hearing another loud thud as I looked down. There was someone outside the back door. With the reflections of light from inside the house contrasted with the dark outside, I couldn't see anything but slight movement behind the door. Another thud crashed into it. It was heavy.
Get a knife,
it definitely had some kind of weapon or something to break the door down with. The operator told me to either find somewhere to hide and lock myself away, or find an escape. I decided to grab my keys and sprint to my car. Even though I knew the man was behind my house, it was still terrifying running out into the open. There could have been more than one person, or even someone waiting by my car. Thankfully, there wasn't, and I was able to get away. It was a good thing I left, because when the cops got there, the back door had been beaten open, and watery shoe prints filled the house. But nobody was inside. All I could really give the officers was a description of the man who was at my doorstep, which there was no actual evidence of it being the same person. So if they did find him, it wouldn't do much anyways. But they never did. Whether or not it was him, though, I think I got lucky that I ran into him on my way out of the house. Had I not, I wouldn't have checked out the door before going to bed. If I was asleep already, maybe they would have been more subtle with breaking in. I don't know. But what's so unnerving is that this all happened on just an ordinary day. There was no way to know. It could be any day that something like this happens. With him still out there, sometimes I feel like I'm just waiting for it to happen again.
To be fair, you might. You might. Good idea getting the fuck out of there. You know, I agree with him. Grab your keys and get the fuck on. But at this point, you need a blick, buddy. You need a blick. I don't know if you're 15, 12, or however old you was in this story. You didn't really clarify that. But you need a blick. House needs a blick. Nigga do that again, blow his ass down as soon as he break the door down. And GT.
It was 2019. I was a sophomore in college and did babysitting 3 to 4 nights a week as a means for paying off my car. For about a month, I had this 3-year-old boy that I'd watch once a week. The parents were soft-spoken, but friendly. They'd always leave around bedtime, so all I'd have to do is make sure the kid stayed.
Not gonna lie, I don't even care if this is drawn or not. If this is anywhere close to Shorty, on God, I'm not trusting you with my kid. On God, I'm not. This your eyes? This bitch off of everything. And he is too, shit. What the fuck? These are like regular show people. It's like a regular show copy and drawn.
To sleep, and was okay while they were gone for usually 4 to 5 hours. This night, I pulled in at 8 p.m. I said hi to the parents, who mentioned the kid was already in their room asleep. Then they thanked me and left.
Okay.
I never asked what they did, going out this late every week. I think they mentioned one time that they went to the city. Maybe it was like a date night or something. Anyway, I put my bag down and did a walkthrough of the house like I usually did, then sat on a chair in the living room. They'd always say, feel free to watch TV or cook dinner or whatever, but usually I just sit on my phone to pass the time, occasionally walking by the kids' room to make sure they were okay.
Okay.
Not even an hour in though, I got a call from the mother. I obviously answered, but I was confused when she asked if I called her just now. I said no, I was still at the house and hadn't called for anything. I guess she had gotten a call from an unsaved number, but nobody said anything when she answered. She thought maybe I'd gotten a new phone, or
This
was
some
using a
screen type
different
shit.
one or something, and the call just didn't come through correctly. I assured her we were all good here, and she said okay, and hung up. I thought nothing of it. She was probably just a concerned parent wanting to make sure everything was good. I did another check on the kid, then sat down again. About 20 minutes passed. I was still on my phone watching a video when I saw headlights shine into the front windows. The light came in through the cracks between the blinds. I thought it was just a neighbor pulling into their house, but after a couple minutes of the light not shutting off, I got up and peeked out the window. There was a dark gray sedan parked right out front of the house by the curb.
We just go keep watching.
It was old and rusty, and the windows were blacked out. I was so focused on the car for a minute, I almost didn't even notice the guy standing a few feet from it. They were closer to the end of the driveway, standing near the sidewalk and looking up at the house I was in. I was a little concerned, but I didn't want to confront them since it wasn't even my house, so I just watched from the window. After a minute, he walked back to his car and got in. Oddly, they pulled away very slowly, like they were still
That nigga got a head like the king of the hill, nigga. The fuck? Box head ass.
focused on looking at the house. I watched as their headlights went down the road, cutting in and out of the trees, but then they stopped again. I could see the light between the trees staying still, far down the road. Then it shut off, like they had parked and got out. Maybe it was someone visiting a neighbor and they were trying to find the address numbers and got mixed up somehow. Feeling like it was a little strange, I stayed by the window for a good 5 minutes, but I never saw the man come back down to the house, so I figured it was probably just a weird coincidence. I went back to the chair in the living room. I did think about texting the parents, but didn't want to worry them about something that was likely nothing. Plus,
This bit crazy. Bitch warn me. What you just see? My son there. My kid, the bitch warned me. The fuck?
it probably wouldn't have made a difference to anything anyways. I decided to turn the TV on, keeping it on low volume so I didn't wake up the kid. A few minutes in, I went to open the blinds as well because I found myself still thinking about it. A whole hour and a half passed, or maybe even 2 hours. Nothing really happened during that time. I just waited in the living room with the TV on and tried my best to stay awake. My eyes were getting heavy, and I could tell I was half asleep. Like I was still awake, but just fully spaced out, and my eyes partially open. But through my less than aware state I was in, I randomly heard a light thump. It didn't fully wake me until I heard it again. My eyes opened wider, and I got up. I wasn't sure what it was, but I wanted to check on the kid first, so I started walking to the stairs. But
Walking?
when I passed through the hallway, I heard it again and saw something in the corner of my eye. I turned my head. There was someone outside the back door, pulling on the handle and looking right at me. Once he saw me looking at him, he started pulling on the handle even harder, trying to brute force it open. My adrenaline kicked in, and I sprinted up the stairs. I went in the room and got the kid, trying to keep them calm. As I was up there, The thumps got louder, like now he was using something to rip open the door. With the kid in my arms, I hurried down the stairs. When I got to the bottom, there was one more sound. It sounded like cracking plastic and metal. I went back into the hallway toward the front door, but I saw the back door was open and the man was rushing inside. He had regular casual clothes on and dark hair. That was all I saw before I noticed a knife in his hand. He didn't hesitate to start running at me. I rushed out the front door, getting into my car and backing out just as he got up to my window. I drove to a safe place and called 911 and the parents. Of course, he was gone before anyone got there. The way I see it, I think the man was going to threaten me with the knife, or even harm me, so he could kidnap the kid. That's what it felt like was going to happen. But how'd he know the parents would be away? And why kidnap this kid specifically? What's weird is after all of it, the parents stopped talking to me and never hired me again. They thanked me on the night of the incident, but then went radio silent. It was like they didn't want me to find anything out about what happened. I did my own research, but didn't find much. Only thing I found out was that the mother had been married before to a man that looked somewhat similar to the guy I saw. No way to know for sure though. I'm just speculating. It's been years now, so I don't think we'll be getting any answers.
It was the fucking ex-husband. That was an amazing story.
This was last year during a solo road trip I was taking from Wisconsin to Montana.
Empathy for whoever
Most
went
of the
through that,
roads there are basically barren.
Ooh, this is gonna be a scary one.
This was last year during a solo road trip I was taking from Wisconsin to Montana. Most of the roads there are basically barren, aside from the first hour and the last hour. Everything else is forest or open fields, maybe some small mountains too, once I got further west. Anyway, because of how I had everything scheduled, I was going to be driving through the night and most of the day, rather than taking up 2 full days of driving and having to spend on an extra hotel in between. I knew it would still be tough, but I thought it was worth it.
Was it really?
I started the drive at 7 p.m. I double-checked I had everything packed into my car and had my snacks and stuff in the front seat with me. Then I headed onto the road. First hour was through the city and small towns, but then it was open road from there. Barely any cars, and not many places to stop, aside from a gas station every 15-ish miles. By hour 2, I'd only used up a third of my gas tank, but with the gas stations seeming to get further and fewer between, I figured I'd top off before entering the really rural section of the drive. It took 20 minutes before I finally found a station to stop at. Nobody else was there. It was just some really small place with 4 gas pumps.
I'm not stopping here.
The convenience store wasn't even open. I pulled in and parked next to a pump, getting out and starting to pump the gas. I don't know if it was because the place was older, or maybe hadn't been filled up in a while, but the gas was coming out really slow, like almost a whole minute just for 1 gallon to come
really
out.
not getting no gas.
I leaned up against my car and just waited. That's about when another car came down the road. The speed limit was 55, but it looked like they were only going 20 or 30, initially passing the gas station, but then slowing down and backing up. That was strange, and honestly a bit dangerous on a single road like that in the middle of the night. But they backed up to the entrance and pulled into the station, parking at the pump right behind me. I figured they just missed the entrance and really needed gas. I stayed looking forward at my pump as I heard someone get out and walk to the side of their car. But after a minute of not hearing them starting to pump the gas, or even move at all, I glanced over to see what they were doing. The man was wearing a gray flannel and black jeans and was relatively tall, and he was staring at me. Like when I looked over, he was already looking at me. I awkwardly smiled and nodded, then looked away again. I couldn't help but feel like he was still looking at me, though. After a good 10 seconds, I finally heard him grab the pump and put it in his car. I felt relief, like maybe he was just getting gas, and I was overthinking it. I was out
Shit.
there for another minute
Trust your gut.
before deciding I'd waited enough and just took the pump out and locked up my gas cap. When I did, I saw the man looking at me again. His eyes were so dull and heavy, like he was tired, but chugged caffeine or something.
Well, I'm finna whoop his fucking ass then. He tired? Too much caffeine? Too much withdrawal? You staring at me, bitch? I don't give a fuck if you tall. Bitch, I'm finna rock your ass. At this point, we the only ones at this gas station. You barely getting gas. You got $5. I got $20 in gas. You going at the same pace as me. Then you was doing 25. I'ma have to punch your tired ass.
I got in and pulled back onto the road. Weird guy, I thought, but I didn't put too much weight on it. At some point during the next 3 hours of the
Don't
drive,
tell me.
it started raining. I'd now been driving for 5 hours total, and
Don't
it was
tell
just
me.
past midnight. The rain made me feel like I had to pay more attention to the road, which in turn made the drive more exhausting and tiring. I tried opening an energy drink and snacking, but it really didn't help all that much. By 1 a.m., I just needed a break. My gas was starting to run low too. I drove down the long barren road until finally there was a gas station to pull off at. It looked pretty run down and was just as empty as the last one, but still had lights on and everything. I pulled in and filled up my tank, then pulled into the side of the small building and parked in one of the spaces. I looked
Fuck
up
is
the
he
weather
doing?
to see how long the rain would last, and I looked up any nearby towns, but there were none. It looked like I was basically right in the middle of nothing. I ended up deciding I was good to take a 30-minute nap just to refresh myself, and hopefully
You got
the
me
rain would
fucked up.
slow down too.
I am not taking no, if I'm on a road like this, where it's like one of the, I've driven on roads like this, like literally on some dumb shit, no gas and all that. But if I'm literally in this situation right here, motherfucker, I'm not taking no nap. Fuck a nap. And fuck some rain. I'm gonna keep driving till I don't have no gas. Fuck to safety. I don't give a fuck for the next time 40 minutes. An hour 40. I'm getting there.
I leaned back and fell asleep. When I woke up, rain was still slapping against the roof, and my alarm hadn't gone off yet. It had only been about 25 minutes. I sat up and looked out the windshield. The whole place was quiet, but there was a car at one of the pumps. I leaned forward and looked closer. It was the same one from the other stop. I was almost sure of it. Either this was a really big coincidence, or something was wrong. Even more odd, the guy wasn't anywhere I could see. Not in his car or outside.
Nigga in your back seat.
I felt my face start to go pale. Where the hell was this guy? There was nowhere else at this empty gas station that man could possibly be at. Whatever this was, I didn't want to stay to find out. I turned on the car and put it in reverse. But when I looked in my mirror as I backed out, I saw him. Not behind my car. He was in my back seat, eyes piercing through the dark at me.
I predicted it.
I jolted forward and kicked my door open, jumping onto the pavement. The car was still in reverse, so it was slowly backing up. I started running, but I never heard the man get out of the car. I ran into the woods, then watched as my car continued to roll back for a while, then suddenly stopped. A second later, he drove away, leaving me stranded at some unknown gas station in the middle of nowhere. It was then I realized my phone was still on the dashboard. I stood there in shock for a minute, standing in the rain and taking in the reality of the situation.
Like what?
Then I looked over at the car. He just left his own car. I walked over and found the door to be unlocked, keys in the ignition, and random groceries in the back seat. And by some odd chance, I found the phone laying on the floor by the passenger seat.
This nigga had to been off drugs.
It was locked, but I was still able to call 911 on the lock screen. I didn't realize it at the time. I guess I thought whoever stole my vehicle was just stupid and left everything behind. But
Yeah.
this car wasn't theirs. It was also stolen. Everything in it was from someone else that the man had done the same thing to as he did to me. Though from what I heard, they weren't as lucky to get out completely unharmed. When talking with investigators, they seemed to think the man didn't sneak into my back seat and let me start leaving for no reason. Likely, he was going to wait until we were on the road to reveal himself, and who knows why he would want me hostage or what he planned to do. He was never found, and neither was my car.
That was a scary fucking story. I can't believe I predicted it. Watch these weird ass people, man. Stay on your P's and Q's.